Hello everybody, this is Vdiffuser, and welcome back to Let's Play Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. This is it. This is the final trial of Episode 5. Let's get this taken down. There's no defendant. I've been trying to reach Lana all morning. Where could she be? And where's Emma? Something's been happening behind the scenes. Edgeworth, knowing you, you've already figured it out. Who the owner of 777777 is. I have a pretty strong hunch. Looks like I'm not the only one who's figured it out. You know, the only reason this trial didn't reach a verdict yesterday is because there was still room for doubt regarding this ID record. If that number does belong to whom you suspect, then no doubt will remain. He hasn't been charged officially with anything. In any event, once all doubt has been removed from that list, I can call for a ruling. 5 minutes, Wright and Chief Prosecutor Skye will be found guilty. But she didn't do it. I figured you'd say as much. That's why I came here, to hear what you have to say. Lana's hiding something, and the only way we'll ever know the truth is to draw it out of her. The truth. Everything goes back to the SL9 incident. Don't be stupid. Today's the last day of the trial. We don't have time to reminisce about the past. That depends on you. If she's found guilty, you lose your entire chance to find what really happened. I'll think about it. See you in court, Wright. This is it. If we're ever going to find out what Chief Gant has on her, it's now. Court is now in session for the trial of Miss Lana Skye, for the last time. Let's get down to business. This is when the prosecution puts forth his opening statement. But before that, the police chief has a proposal to make. Gant's interfering. Morning, folks. How's everyone doing? Hey, G, been back to the pool yet? No, I've been drowning enough as it is in my own work. That's a good one, and don't think I can top that. If you don't mind me asking, Chief, what is this proposal of yours? Lana, that is to say the defendant, has asked me if she could speak directly to the court. She wants to do what? Having heard what she intends to say, I feel she should be granted her request. In the end, it should save everyone a lot of time and trouble. Okay. What's this about? I'd like to make one simple request and I'll be finished. What's your request? Your Honor, I'd like you to put an immediate end to this trial. I confess to all charges against me. On February 21st... Oh no, don't do this! You're gonna throw everything we did out. Lana! You can't! Your Honor, the defendant's claim does not change the defense's plea. In that case, Mr. Wright, I no longer require your services. But Lana, Your Honor, I hereby forfeit my right to an attorney. The prosecution may lack direct evidence against me, but it has sufficiently proven its case through testimony and circumstantial evidence. I would like you to render your verdict now, if you please. Well, the defendant certainly has a right to self-representation, but her request is legally valid, though this is an unprecedented situation. Indeed, it appears there is no further need to continue this trial, even if you may feel otherwise. Thanks a lot, Lana. It appears the time has arrived. It finds the defendant. One moment, Your Honor. Mr. Edgeworth! The prosecution has not proven the defendant guilty beyond reasonable doubt. Any ruling at this stage would certainly be premature. Come now, Worthy. I understand this is a difficult decision for you, but why don't you just be a good little boy and keep your mouth shut, I don't think I care for your tone, Chief Gant. What? Creating another fabrication to cover up your past mistakes? Sorry, but I'm no longer the naive little boy you would have me to be. With this sudden confession from the defendant, it's obvious to me some kind of deal was struck behind the scenes. Some kind of deal, Not everyone operates as you do, Worthy. I thought so. Your Honor, the prosecution would like to change its first witness. Oh? To whom? As its first witness, the prosecution would like to call Miss Emma Skye. I request the court hears her testimony. Mr. Edgeworth, I am exercising my right to self-representation. I don't think we need to continue. I don't care what you think, Miss Skye. The exposure of truth sometimes results in tragedy. However, no matter how tragic the truth may be, it would be an even greater tragedy to avert one's eyes from it. Very well, the court shall grant the prosecution's request. That's okay with you, right, Chief Gant? Worthy? You'll live to regret this. Mark my words. Miss Emma Skye, please take the stand. Looks like Edgeworth has decided to take the horse by the reins. Now then, witness, please state your name and occupation. Emma Skye. I'm Lana's little sister and I want to be a scientific investigator. 2 years ago, you encountered the serial killer Joe Dark of the Joe Dark killings. Is this correct? Yes, I'm trying my hardest to forget about that though. I'm sorry. I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to recall those events one more time. Please remember, this trial concerns the murder of Detective Goodman. Is an incident that was resolved 2 years ago really all that relevant? Yes, it most certainly is. Well, okay then. He sure gave in fast. Now, please testify about what happened to you 2 years ago. We gotta press everything with this. Yeah, a man came running in, took me hostage. Neil Marshall rescued me, but I'll never forget what I saw in that instant. The man raised up his knife and stabbed Mr. Marshall in the chest. It's a good thing you weren't harmed. I passed out. I don't remember much. That's understandable, however. Please tell me, Mr. Edgeworth, what does this testimony have to do with Detective Goodman's murder? That will become apparent soon, Your Honor. You gotta admire him for his courage, considering he has no evidence. The defense may begin its cross-examination. Alright, we gotta press everything. Yep. Here's that. She was best detective ever. I remember. They used to be quite the pair. They shared the same office. That's right. I always sit at my sister's desk and dream about playing that organ. I wanted to play during that day, too. Yeah. She promised to take me to dinner after she worked. There's that. Serial killer. He was brought in for questioning on the day of that ceremony. He fled, take the elevator, then ran into Sky and Gant. Oh, poor thing. There were 2 people present during Dark's questioning. Damon Gant and Neil Marshall. He just received the King of Prosecutors award. And that would be why he was the first to run after Dark. I don't clearly remember what happened then, but I'll never forget what I saw in that instant. He jumped on Dark, and then just as the lights went out, it was about this time of year, there was a terrible storm going on and lightning struck. You shouldn't have been able to see anything, right? Lightning flashed outside, and that image left an unforgettable image in my mind. I told the detective about what I'd saw then. Goodman, he was in charge of the case. Hear more. That's what's so scary about this trial. And you told Goodman about what you saw. At the time the words wouldn't come out. That's why I drew a picture. Ask about the picture. The list of evidence I was given 2 years ago didn't contain a picture. It seems to have been lost. No, I didn't want to do that. Well, hello. We know what we have to present. Mr. Edgeworth, this little girl put all her heart into drawing that picture. And yet you would insist on denying its existence? Hey, I'm not the bad guy. All I'm saying is that the prosecutor of the case, I wasn't handed such a picture. That may well be, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Behold! Yeah, look on the freaking back. Ah! What's this? What is that? Hey, that's it. That's the picture I drew. The 2 men appear to be wrestling here. What's the meaning of this? What are you doing with that list? Only the prosecutor in charge should have access to that list. These lists, they're different from each other. It would appear, Mr. Edgeworth, that the evidence list you were ending 2 years was incomplete. These 2 lists fit together to form one. You can see marks here where they were torn apart from one another. So you see, Mr. Edgeworth, it's quite obvious what happened. 2 years ago, only half of the evidence in the case ever reached you. What? What? Order! Order! But Miss Skye, why did you draw your picture on the back of such an important list? Because that's what Detective Goodme handed me in the questioning room, Your Honor. Wait a minute. If this list was torn in half, that means... Your Honor, your eyes are bulging from your head. If the evidence list was torn in half, then there might be more of the drawing on the back of Mr. Edgeworth's list. That's quite conceivable, Mr. Edgeworth. It's possible that... Is something wrong? You even have to ask? Sorry, Your Honor. I was momentarily a zombie. There is indeed something drawn on the back of my list. It's that thing. That's the thing. The Blue Badger. Clearly, this act of vandalism is the work of a certain chief of detectives. I guess he was out of scrap paper. I wouldn't think so. Huh? Oh, yes, sir. Your Honor. If that's the case... That means something fell on them. What's wrong with Emma? She seemed to be thinking about something when she was looking at the picture. I don't see any contradictions. This clearly shows Dark about to murder Prosecutor Marshall. Okay. Right after? 2 or 3 days. Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense. He was placed in charge under the direction of Damon Gant and Lena Skye. Why is the picture painted black? Because that's all she could see. Makes sense. You know, if I didn't know better, I would have think that, the other guy was, trying to kill him. Let's see. Stabbed in the back and died from a punctured heart and lung. A knife tip was in his wound. Are you insinuating we somehow manipulated her memory rights? Or he's gonna cut my salary. Yeah, there is a contradiction. Alrighty. We know what we have to do. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this picture the witness drew contains a blatant contradiction. What? But I still remember it like it was yesterday. Alright, what's the contradiction? It's here. The knife the man is holding, the tip is broken. Even I don't have to look closely to see that, Mr. Wright. But look at the evidence. Its tip is broken too. If I recall, the tip was found broken off in the victim's body. It was conclusive evidence that proved Joe Dark was the murderer. I'm afraid it's not so simple, Emma. And where, pray tell, could you possibly see a problem? It's obvious, really. Suffered a single stab wound to the back. If the victim was only stabbed once, then the murder weapon should not yet be broken. Ah! What's the meaning of this? Perhaps the knife was broken beforehand. Sorry, but I'm afraid that's not possible. The tip of the knife was found inside the victim's body. If it was broken beforehand, it couldn't possibly wind up there. That's right, but what does this mean? The tip of the knife was undeniably discovered within the victim's body. The only possible explanation is the witness's memory is mistaken. That's why I asked her so many times if she was sure she remembered correctly. I believe you were annoyed at the time. She was sure she remembered correctly. But there's no other way to explain this inconsistency. Yes, there is. This is forged evidence. About a little something called falsified evidence. You're treading on thin ice, right? All I'm saying is that this broken knife tip might be the piece of evidence that was forged. You can't deny the possibility. No. Ah! Order! 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 Are you saying the investigation really was corrupted? Your Honor, please allow me to explain the events that took place on the day of the murder. The police department and prosecutor's office were holding a ceremony that day. After receiving the King of Prosecutors Award at the ceremony, Neil Marshall questioned Joe Dark along with Damon Gant. During his questioning, Joe Dark fled the room. Prosecutor Marshall chased after him and was killed by Dark. It's my belief that somewhere in this story, there's a lie. I'm not lying. The man was holding up a broken knife. If that's true, then there's no other way around it. This could not have been the actual murder weapon. There must have been another broken knife. What are the chances of there being true broken knives? Actually, pretty good. Let's see. It can't be explained by a simple observational error. In that instant, she did see a broken knife. The real murder weapon. The answer lies in the past. 2 years in the past, right here. This is a picture of the awards ceremony. Ah! What is it, Mr. Edgeworth? It's the broken murder weapon. Notice the award Prosecutor Marshall's holding. That's a broken knife. As we earlier concluded, the knife in the drawing was not Joe Dark's knife. The knife the witness saw was in likelihood from this award. Order! King Marshall was awarded King of Prosecutors that day. I can't speak. As an award, he was given the broken shield and knife. When he chased after Joe Dark, he pulled out his knife. Being a prosecutor, he did not carry a pistol. This broken knife was the only weapon he had in a dangerous situation. But that can't be! Oh, and why not, Mr. Edgeworth? Because if the King of Prosecutors Award was the murder weapon, then the murderer and the victim would be reversed. What do you mean? I mean that the man raising his knife would have been Prosecutor Neil Marshall. Oh! But the prosecutor was the one who actually died. That's true. What's going on here? It seems Mr. Wright has been a little bit too eager to jump to conclusions. Hold it! I remember now. I remember everything. Mr. Edgeworth. What is it? Could you show me your evidence list again, please? I knew it. This picture, I'm the one who drew it. What? You drew that? That's right. The list wasn't torn in half at the time I drew the picture. At the time I've been trying so hard to forget. I must have locked this part deep away in me. Well, perhaps it would be best if we added this to the witness's testimony. Yeah, boy. First the knife mix-up and now the blue badger. This should be interesting. When I saw the man raise his knife, I panicked and rushed toward the both of them. I think I knocked the man with the knife away. Just then there was another flash of lightning, and that's when I saw the blue badger. He wasn't in the room, but I saw his shadow. This is unusual. Try impossible! The chief of detectives hadn't even designed him until this year. That would mean he didn't exist 2 years ago. Stop! Please! Don't pursue this any further! What's the meaning of this? Remain seated in the defendant's chair. You can't do this! I've already confessed to the crime. Why can't you just leave it at that? Chief Prosecutor Skye, we've already come to this far. It's too late to turn back. Silence! The defense will now begin its cross-examination. Bailiff, please detain the defendant. Seems we're already getting to the core of the matter. I think we know what's going on. Alrighty. We know what this really is. I might just know. There was something that looked similar to the blue badger. Something that is now sitting in this very room. Jar. It's very jarring, don't you find? Teh. This jar. That doesn't look anything like the blue badger. Indeed it doesn't. As it stands now, it's a plain jar. What if we were to change our viewpoint? Ta-da! Come on, that was close enough. Come on! That's the right angle. There, that's better. Well, is it a miracle or what? No one can possibly deny this jar resemblance to the Blue Badger. No! It can't be! Order! This defense has proven its claim. The mysterious Blue Badger witnessed on the day of this crime was actually this. Although we all enjoyed Mr. Wright's dramatic performance, one question remains. What's your point? What do you mean? So that badger thing was just a jar. That doesn't change anything. I'm afraid that's where you're wrong, Mr. Edgeworth. You see, this changes everything. It means the murder weapon. The location of the jar is shown in a picture taken on the day of the crime, on a jar in the office of Damon Gant. But the body was found near Lana Sky's desk. The witness testified so herself. Yes, and it is these two facts that reveal what actually transpired. The struggle between Dark and Marshall did not take place in Lana Sky's office. It happened on the other side of the room in Chief Gant's office. Are you implying the murderer was moved the victim's body from Damon Gant's office to Lana Sky's office? Yes. Why would he do that? There's no reason. Exactly. If there wasn't a reason, he wouldn't have gone through the trouble. The only logical conclusion is that there was a reason. Call it, she said, she knocked away the man who was holding up the knife. Next instant, the jar was hit and flew through the air. What could have sent the jar flying? That would have been The impact the man made when he was knocked into the wall. If I may draw your attention to this pic once more. The man was knocked into the direction of the shelf the jar was sitting on. What would he have hit? Ah! The suit of armor, holding a very sharp and dangerous-looking sword. Yep. Since the man who was knocked into the armor was carrying a broken knife, he would have had to have been Neil Marshall, wielding the King of Prosecutors trophy. No! Mr. Wright, you can't be thinking. There is another possibility of what actually transpired in that room. Of course, the perpetrator would have had no idea, but nevertheless. I don't know if I can go through with this. If events took place as the defense theorizes and the outcome's obvious, in that moment, assuming the man Emma Skye knocked away was actually Prosecutor Neil Marshall, she killed him. You mean Mr. Marshall died because of me? No! I never imagined her testimony would lead to this. So it was the witness who took the victim's life, and then proved so with her own testimony. This is unprecedented. What are you saying? I'm sorry, Miss Skye, but given the circumstances... Joe Dark murdered Prosecutor Marshall. How can you think it was Emma? How dare you try to pin the crime on her? Imagine that, coming from you. If you recall, it was you who admitted to forging evidence 2 years ago. The reason you moved Prosecutor Marshall's body was to keep anyone else from finding about what Emma did, wasn't it? I assure you, Mr. Edgeworth, I have no idea what you're talking about. If you hope to have anyone believe your insane allegations, I'm afraid you're going to have proof. Tell me, do you have any conclusive evidence that proved my sister killed Neil Marshall? Yes, we do. I'm willing to bet you don't. I'm afraid that won't work in this case. Both parties in the incident are dead. Touché, Miss Skye. Of course, that only leaves us with one possibility. The evidence. The victim has left us a message. Mr. Marshall did not die instantly. Oh god, it's this again. It's in the evidence. Our purpose is not to accuse Emma of any crime. There is only one thing we seek. The truth. No matter how painful it may be, the unstable jar. If that thing could, I'm sure it would. Looks like everyone's forgotten this is a jar. Someone wiped it away. The dots were once lines. He didn't die instantly. He used the few precious moments left to him to leave behind a message. No! Alrighty, let's see. It's a defense attorney's duty to prove their client's innocent. That's what I've been saying all along to Lana. Emma. So this is a final message he left behind. I don't think so. I think someone's pulling our leg. Of all people, she may not have meant it, but in the end the one who took the victim's life was Emma Skye. Seaworthy? Can't say I didn't warn you. Chief Gant. Do you understand the implications of what you've done? What are you talking about? 2 years ago, Joe Dark was sentenced to death. He was convicted because of his final murder. I believe you were the prosecutor on the case, were you not? Yes, Worthy. Because of you, an innocent man was sentenced to death. Not only that, you used forged evidence to ensure his conviction. Joe Dark really was a serial murderer. That's undeniable. I'm afraid that's not important. Didn't you know, we aren't defenders of justice. We're merely keepers of the law. Sentencing a man to death is no light matter. Even if there wasn't any cover-up of evidence forgery. Ultimately, the responsibility lies on the prosecution in charge. Despite what anyone may say, the fact cannot be denied. What's going on at the prosecutor's office? They might have sent an innocent man to his death. How can he just stand there? Order! 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 The gavel's pounding fell on deaf ears. Unable to settle the crowd, the judge declared a recess. Where the trial is headed, no one knows. And we're gonna have to figure out how to wrangle this in our favor. Alrighty, I will see you guys next time when we figure this one out. Later!
Have no doubt, I'm in control. You may think chasing ghosts is